When did you get started? How young was your first venture?
So my first business I started when I was 16 years old with my brother. We were in the sport of paintball, which, you know, we dreamed of being in tournaments nationally, and there was no way to get a job. So why not take a passion, something that we were decently well versed in, and turn that into money? So we started flipping equipment on eBay, and it was so, we just printed money in that business, and we paid for our paintball travel, do tournaments, stuff like that. But that was a great business, but it was also a business failure because I didn't realize that I needed to know accounting. So the business, we started shifting from doing online sales to going and setting up events for church camps.
We'll talk about everything else later on in the video. Guys, we're actually gonna go to 3 of his businesses that he owns. Tell us, which one do you think brings in the most revenue? Car wash, right behind us, storage units, or laundromats? Comment below. Do you come from money? Like, give us a glimpse into your early life. What was it like growing up?
Sure. So my dad was an over-the-road trucker. He specifically was an owner-operator, which I know a lot of people think that you make a lot of money doing that. For some reason, I had my dad's tax return, or my parents' tax return from 1996. We were 50% under the federal poverty line.
Wow.
We had almost no money. My family was evicted when I was 6 years old. We got evicted again at 18. When I was 18 years old, my dad had a heart attack, which meant that he wasn't able to work at all. So my brother and I, we both got jobs. I ended up working at a warehouse, kind of like an Amazon fulfillment center, but this is 20 years ago. So we never had money growing up till I got into running my own business.
All right, let's go check out the self-serve bay. I mean, we're familiar with car washes, but I want to see if there's anything unique about yours.
Okay.
It's a pretty small car wash. I've seen 12 serve bays,
Yep.
self-serves.
Yeah.
But, you know, we're not a big town, right? Circleville?
No.
What's the population?
14,000.
So in hindsight, becoming an entrepreneur, I feel like was the best thing ever, right? But back then, what inspired you? Give us a little precursor.
Sure. So when I was 21 years old, I was working at a warehouse making $11.25 an hour, and I knew that that would not cut it. So I made this decision to look around my community and see who's making money. And from my perspective, real estate agents were making all the money in the world. They all drove Cadillacs, very fancy people. And I said, well, that's what I got to get into. The cost to become a real estate agent is $1,300.
Yeah.
I put that on a credit card, got into that, and I realized that most of the agents that I was looking up to, they were just really in debt. They were making decent money, but not tons. Then I had 2 people stop into my office that changed my life. One guy, his name was Joe. He was a truck driver, just like my dad was. He wanted to flip some real estate properties, and I said, okay, you know, we have to go get approved for a loan. We got to go through this process. He says, no, I'm not going to go get a loan. I have cash. I said, how do you have money? He says, well, I've been investing. And he literally took a checkbook and threw it at me and said, go look and see how much money I have. And I opened it up, and there was $352,000 in just one checking account. And I was like, what the heck? I'm in real estate. I've never seen anybody with this level of money. So over the course of a few months, he explained to me that he had taken his money, he had invested it in the stock market and real estate, and that had just blossomed into this money. And now he was flipping houses and making good money for fun. He made $35,000, $40,000 on one house. I said, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Then I met a guy, his name was Bill. He was a janitor up at Nationwide Children's Hospital.
Bill the janitor.
Bill the janitor. And he said, I want to find a house here in this county with a pool. We found a house, and he said, okay, I want to buy it. And I said, okay, we need to go get approved for a mortgage. And he said, no, I got cash. I just sold some real estate investments I have. I said, you're a janitor. And he said, yeah, I've been a janitor for 30 years up at Nationwide. I've been buying all the real estate that I could find cheap and holding on to it, and then I've been flipping it, and I just made $300,000 on 2 properties. I want to put in something else. Let's go buy a house with a pool. He still lives east of town on that house. So at that point, I realized I have to get into real estate investment. It took me several years to figure out how to get the money, how to talk to investors. Started off there with the first one, and then by 2019, I had a high of, I think, 142 rentals.
So you'd say your entrepreneurship journey began in real estate?
Yes.
That was the beginning of it?
That was the real one.
What kind of money was your real estate portfolio bringing in at its peak?
So my peak of the portfolio was around 2019, right before coronavirus struck us all. We were doing about $58,000 a month in top line revenue. That's before my expenses, but my expenses, other than debt service, were actually pretty low for real estate.
Before we give our audience an inner look as to the structure of this deal, I want to understand how you got the money to buy your first ever real estate deal, and what's your advice to those who don't have money to be able to achieve that?
It took me 5 years to figure out how to do it. And as a real estate agent, I knew where all the good foreclosures were, I knew where the good properties were, I knew rentals that could make money. But I just couldn't find any money myself. I couldn't qualify for a bank. The first 20 banks I talked to, they all wanted 20% down and cash reserves to fix the property up, and that was just never going to happen. Even in Ohio, where properties are cheap, I still couldn't afford it. So I decided that I was going to take some of these properties that I knew that were going to make money to people that had a lot of money, but they didn't have any time. So I built a list of a dozen different properties that were here in Circleville. I knew how much it was going to cost to rehab them. I knew how much money I was going to bring on cash flow. I said, let's partner on these properties. They're going to make a 20 to 25% return on investment. Let me give you the first half, and then I'll take the second half. So you get, on a property that returns 25%, you get a 12.5% cash on cash return. And I was blown away by the interest. I wanted to buy, I decided to buy the first house for $25,000 acquisition, $25,000 rehab, $50K. 25. And within, I want to say under a year, I had $500,000 in commitments from other people.
Wow. They
saw me buy the first place. I was blogging. I was taking pictures of it, going over how that process worked. And then I deployed $500,000 in rental properties. A large publication online did my story on how I got the first dozen or so rentals. That point was like the overnight sensation. I had people calling me all over the United States asking to contribute money to more real estate investments, and I did probably the stupidest thing I've done, or the smartest, I don't know. I opened up a bank account under a new LLC here in town, and I said, anybody that wants to get into real estate with me, wire me funds. I don't think anybody should ever do that, but I had one guy wire me $85,000, and he said, all right, let's go buy some houses. So I said, all right, this thing is so much easier now that I've built a good track record.
For sure. So the 3 steps would be find the deal, find the money, and then obviously make sure it's the deal that's going to make you money.
Make sure it's a deal that's going to make you money. Make sure your investors are taken care of.
Awesome. Okay, yeah, and we'll dive into the details of each of those steps later on. Curious about what this location specifically brings in terms of revenue, because you have the vacuums, you have the self-serve, and the dry or the touchless, right?
Yes.
What is the best, most profitable service here?
Sure.
And what can you share with us as far as numbers?
Sure. So this is where I'm going to break your heart and all your subscribers' hearts, because I'm under an NDA with my business partner. He doesn't like me talking about the specific. But I will tell your viewers this. Do I run a better car wash than the average? Am I 20% better or worse than 20%? And I'm in a town of 14,000 people with 4 competing car washes. So the average vacuum machine at a car wash produces $200 per month per machine. So I've got 3 of those machines here. Your average self-serve bay at a car wash does $1,500 per month per bay. The average automatic brings in $10,000 per month in the United States. So 10 plus 1.5 plus 1.5 plus 1.5, we're at $14,500 per month. Plus 3 vacuums, another $600. So we're at $15,100 per month on average. Top line revenue. The average car wash does about a 40 to 45% margin. So now I'm going to ask your viewers, do I do a better job than the average car wash? The average car wash is on a road with 10,000 cars. Right out here on North Court Street, based on ODOT data, because that's public data.
Knows his data, knows his numbers.
There's 9,100 cars up here, and then on my other location in Asheville, we have 4,900 per day.
Gotcha. So why buy a car wash in the first place? Obviously, you had no experience with the first one. What did the deal look like? Give us a 60-second answer as to how that happened.
So I bought this car wash and the other one after I had got my laundromat. The cash flow from my laundromat was just so good. The amount of time I spent was very small compared to my real estate portfolio, which was kind of my bar on everything. Great money, lower time investment, and I just decided I want to get a car wash. I've done so well with my laundromat, so let's just go get a car wash. So we started looking at locations. I looked at 6 separate locations. This was the one that had the best deal structure. The seller was willing to carry part financing on it. He had tax returns. He wasn't lying to the IRS, which was very good for me because I felt like I can quantify the money coming in.
Gotcha. What's the overhead cost for this location, just to break even?
Sure.
Water, sewer, and
water's $2,000 a month. Electric's like $400 a month. Natural gas is like $300 a month. I spent a lot of money on soaps. You wouldn't think it, but I spent about $10,000, $12,000 a year. We actually have resorted to manufacturing some of our own soaps on site. We buy the material from a chemical vendor, and because we have really great water filtration system, we actually make the soap on site. So it's a savings on both locations.
Looking for savings, looking for ways to improve and be lean. All right, well, let's switch gears here and go check out the self-storage units.
Sure.
Talk about that. So how many total units we got here?
Total of 38.
38. And what did you pay for the deal, if you can share?
We segmented
it. Package deal, obviously.
As a package deal, but we segmented about $75,000 to $100,000 on it.
That's not bad. I mean, what's it generating for you today?
Right around $2,500 a month.
This is the vacant one?
Yep.
Let's take a look. It's pretty tiny units, though.
This is actually the smallest one that we have.
Gotcha.
This is a 10 by 10. But then on the other building that we have, they're all 12 by 16.
What are some secrets to finding great deals, such as the car wash, storage units, things like that? Because that's the first piece of the puzzle that we're talking about today.
I am like a shotgun approach. If I want to be in an industry, I want to call everybody. I have found that by trying to just work with people, be friendly, see if there's a way for me to help them out, it has reaped unbelievable dividends over the course of me being involved in different industries.
When you bought the storage units and the car wash here, any specific challenges that you faced that you can share with us up front from the get-go?
The coldest winter in Ohio history is -35. Everything that could freeze up did freeze up. Then after that point was the wear and tear that was already on the equipment that we did not plan for.
We had a guy intentionally drive an SU3 through our #1 income earner, our automatic car wash.
The first machine, it was run into by a customer after we owned this location for 3 months. We got insurance money. The insurance money was about this much to put in new equipment.
What about the storage business that surprised you the most?
If I be honest, it's how easy this business is compared to my other ones. ROI's been great on it, considering how much money I have in it. The downside is this is not scalable in any way, shape, or form. The only way is to physically build more, and I can't do that. There's just not enough room here to do it. Over the past few years, the sales price of these have exploded. This one is probably on a 25 cap, which is absurd. A similar facility would sell for 10, so I could flip this and make a lot of money. And larger facilities that have more economies of scale, they're very, very low ROI.
Wow. Blitz time with Brandon. Thanks, guys, for submitting your questions. If you had to start over tomorrow and had $0 in your name, what business would you go in?
Real estate seller financed.
So what's the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
Find where the money is.
What's the most unusual deal you've ever worked on, closed or not?
Bought an apartment complex for $250.
What? How many units?
It was 3. It was a duplex plus a house. $250.
So you executed on it and closed on it?
Oh yeah, we closed on it. I had it for 3 years, made tons of money, resold it for $100,000.
What's the biggest risk you've ever taken on this journey?
I sold my website business off in 2012 so that I could get some money to get into real estate investing full time.
Okay, what's your guilty pleasure when you take a break from business?
I would say doing something with my kids. That's 90% of what I do.
Okay. You don't get to $6 million a year by wishful thinking. Whether you've got a bunch of businesses like Brandon or are just getting started, you already know that standing out and competing for your customers' attention can make you do some crazy things. But you don't need a gimmick or a production team to jumpstart your business's growth. You just need a .online domain. It's that easy. .online is the world's second largest domain extension with over 3.4 million active domains around the world. It's perfect for any business, whether you're offline, online, or somewhere in between. .online domains instantly separates you from the pack. Their vast inventory of available domain names means you get the web address you want, not the one you settle for because the .com version was taken. Just like the global music sensation Maluma, who uses the perfect name in maluma.online. Plus, your business gets a massive SEO bump just for using the word online, instantly making your brand more accessible. .online domains are sold across registers like GoDaddy, Namecheap, and site builders like Wix, but here's the kicker. Right now, you can snag your .online domain for just 99 cents for the first year using the link in the description and the exclusive coupon code UPFLIP. So click the link and start growing. All right, so we're just checking out this unit.
Yep.
Is this one you're renting, or what's going on here?
This is one we actually store all of my car wash stuff in, soaps and waxes and chemicals and everything.
It's so nice how you have, you know, this business here right next to the other business.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's the ideal situation, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's also what keeps me from flipping this. We could sell it tomorrow for about $2 to $225.
Yeah.
But This unit right here is why I don't want to sell it.
Gotcha.
So.
How many units do we have here total?
So it's a total of 38 units.
38. What's your average unit rental here?
Half size for this, it's about $100 a month. I would say average is probably 85 if we would get on the square foot dollar cost.
What's the overhead just to maintain this place alone?
Paying somebody $10 a week to manage it. That's literally what it comes down to. Property taxes are probably my biggest. I'm spending about $200 a month on property taxes.
Gotcha.
That's typically with self-serve, property taxes are your number one expense.
Okay, people are going to say, well, what do you mean $10 a week?
$10 a week.
And let's clarify, because she does everything else for you. Yeah.
$20 an hour.
Half an hour a week.
Half an hour a week. She does a lot of other things, and she doesn't have any bonus structure here. So it's very cheap, and it's also something that, you know, you can manage yourself. I just don't want another business for me to manage.
For sure. Okay. Well, let's go and check out the laundromat. Let's
All right,
talk about
let's
that
go.
business and see what it looks like.
Awesome.
Let's do it. So we heard a lot about laundromats being very profitable businesses, and earlier on I asked you guys what you think, what business brings in the most revenue. Give us the insight. Is it the laundromat? Is it the car wash? Is it something else that you have?
This one is very middle of the road for me. My car washes individually and corporately make more money than this laundromat. But the laundromat's really good. We're on track to do about $135,000 this year in gross revenue.
For this location?
From just this location. My net should be in the, let's say, $65,000, $75,000 range. I got a little bit of debt service that I have to take care of, but I'm almost paid off on my loans. So then that money starts going in my pocket. Now, one of the other great things I have here is I own the real estate here. So when I bought it for $85,000. Now I estimate this location with the real estate's worth over $300,000.
Whoa.
Yeah, so we've had a huge equity garner on this. So it's been a great business for me to own.
As far as businesses, laundromat, car wash, what else we had? We had...
My rentals.
Yeah, your rentals. I guess you can't really compare that to the first two.
It's hard.
Car wash and laundromats, as far as profit margins, what wins?
Generally speaking, car washes make more money than laundromats. If you wanted to start a business or find a business that made in your pocket $500,000 a year, it would probably be easier to find a good laundromat to take over and scale. Car washes, from my perspective, looking at hundreds and hundreds of locations, it's a situation where it's easier to get into and make decent money, but there's so much growth in the laundromat space.
What did you do to change things around here as soon as you acquired it?
So when I bought this location, everything in here was a dump. The fire department wouldn't let us open until we removed all of those pieces of equipment. But we were able to operate for the first year, year and a half. There would be some machine that would break every other week. So we had problems, but not near like taking over the location where literally nothing worked.
Gotcha. What about prices? Did they stay about the same?
We upped to maybe 10 to 15%. They were mostly in line with everybody else, but the condition of this location was absolutely miserable. It was an absolute nightmare when it came to the damage that was in here because of neglect.
We pride ourselves on bringing amazing guests like Brandon. So if you're an entrepreneur or aspiring to be one, hit that like and subscribe button. You won't miss any episodes, and you'll help us bring more top-notch guests like Brandon. All right, let's get in here. So this is smaller than what we typically saw. How many machines again in total?
18 washers, 12 dryers.
Gotcha. What can a machine like this generate? You got $3 per wash?
Yeah, this is a $3 one. The gold standards, we're trying to get 3 turns per day, so $9 a day off this specific machine. These are a little bit lower because my bigger machines tend to make a lot more money.
What's the price on that?
So my 30-pound machine costs $4.50. My 60-pound machine costs $9.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Generally speaking, the customers just like the bigger machines. They feel they can get more stuff in it, which isn't true. They feel it gets a little cleaner, which is true because they tend to pack it less.
Gotcha.
Bigger machine, they put less laundry in it. It's just the oddness of this.
I mean, it's pretty small on this one.
It's a 20-pound machine, so it's a little bigger than what you'd have at home. This runs about $3,500 on it, which is pretty expensive. That excludes the water connections and the electric connections.
Yeah,
probably runs maybe $500 per machine to connect them.
Wow.
Depending,
infrastructure is really expensive in this laundry business.
And that's cheap. I run into a lot of people that spend $100,000 to $150,000 in infrastructure to get their whole stack done.
What are some challenges specific to this location, this industry here for you right now?
This location's really small. So what I have to do to get that level of profit per square foot, I need to destroy a wall and I need to fix my parking lot. That's going to be another $200,000 in implementation.
When do you plan on doing that?
I'd like to do it by the end of the year. I'm trying to get my revenue numbers up so I can support the extra debt service. These machines are almost paid off loan-wise. I spent about $105,000, $110,000 getting the equipment. It's paid down. I got another maybe year left, but then I'm just going to restart it and get more equipment and get another loan for probably 150.
When you started this location, when you acquired it, what were some of the mistakes looking back you made that you could go back and do differently?
Sure. I made a really big mistake on trying to figure out what my customers wanted. I had heard from experts, you need big equipment. The bigger the equipment, the more money you'll make per day per square foot. And I said, oh no, that can't be true. So we ended up getting quite a few of these style washers. I found out that they're right. If I would have planned this location for more larger machines, I wouldn't be at the 125 to 135 range. I'd probably be closer to 175, 185.
Right. All right, can you give us an overall review of revenue across all businesses, just
Sure.
to get an idea?
Yeah, so this is where the video is going to break down, because I've got NDAs on 2 separate businesses that I have.
Gotcha.
Laundromat, we should end the year at 125 to 135. My real estate operations, I don't think we're going to be anywhere south of $1 million. That
Wow,
number
good for
is
you.
really complicated because about 600,000 of that's going to be from rent on properties. But then we've got a couple flips that we have either closed on or will close out the year with. And I've got some other projects. I get residuals off my old trailer park that I sold. We get really good money off of that at this point. So I'm going to guess 1.2-ish million a year on my real estate operations as a global total. We've got vending machines in there. I'll make maybe an extra $30,000, $40,000 a year off of that. Got a bunch of small little things. Social
Vacation
media.
budget.
I'm hoping that social media will end up, let's say 300,000, maybe 400,000 this year. This is actually one of my worst years for social media, considering all the views and everything. But I took 6 months off this year to work
It'll
on a
do
big project.
Yeah.
That big project plus my car wash, which I can't talk about the revenue, but just remember the averages, guys. I expect to end this year at probably the 6 million mark.
Oh, wow.
In terms of total revenue.
Good for you, man. I mean, coming from humble beginnings to now making, we're talking revenue, so before tax and all that, but still quite the difference. What do you say to people that think money buys happiness? What's your take on that?
Happiness is its own thing. I would say that money buys security. You're at least going to have a roof over your head. You can have a car that works. You can have food on your table.
Some experiences.
It buys security. It can buy really great experiences too. That doesn't always bring people happiness.
Sure.
My wife and I, when we got married, we kind of resolved ourselves. We'll be happy if we have to live in a cardboard box. My family was happy when we were mostly living in a little studio, 1-bedroom apartment above a coffee shop after we had the house explosion. We were happy. It was challenging. Things weren't stable. We weren't secure, but we were happy.
Yeah.
So I don't think it can buy happiness, but it can buy security. And for some people, that level of security is happiness.
Yeah. Would you want an active business owner like Brandon here to guide you step by step to start your entrepreneurial dreams? I'm talking about learning from world-class entrepreneurs like Dave Menz, who started a $1.8 million laundromat empire while still working a full-time job. Adam, a dyslexic high school dropout who works only 2 days a week running a $750,000 vending business. At Upflip Academy, we've brought in active business owners to guide you at every step, expert coaches to answer all the questions you have that you can't find on Google, and a community of like-minded entrepreneurs to keep you accountable, and so much more. So if you're looking to build or scale a business, live the life of freedom, then I highly urge you to head over to upflip.com and peek inside the Upflip Academy while you still can. Specifically to this car wash, what was the smartest move you made to turn it around?
Changing our pricing and adding credit cards. I spent $6,778 to redo both locations with credit cards. We also had to fix up our bill machines.
Gotcha.
And there, believe it or not, there's people that will drop $40, $50, $60 on their car. And they don't want to spend that money in fives. So we made it easier for them to spend more money, and it's been a great thing.
Give us an understanding. So you were, I mean, was this making any money as far as revenue?
Oh yeah, it was doing very well.
And what did it do after the credit card? And
overnight, it was a 35% increase.
Okay.
Over the course of time, we've about doubled.
That's awesome. So out of all the businesses that you own, Brandon, what do you think new aspiring entrepreneurs should focus on getting into? Should they go the real estate route? That's an easy barrier to entry there.
I love real estate. It changed my life because it got me to a point that I was around people that had money. Now, the real estate agents were in debt, most of them. One of them was the former CEO of an oil company. He really changed my perspective on everything in life. He also had a saying of, if a real estate agent can do it, I can do better. So at 72, 73 years old, he got into real estate, and within a year he was a top producer.
What?
Just by taking what he understood about business. Oh yeah. He just took his business skills at an oil company as a CEO for 30 some years and deployed it in real estate, and it was incredible. And me with no experience, it just changed my life. So I love real estate. I'm so thankful that I became a real estate agent, but it's also a sales business. I've watched your channel plenty of times. I know that you've talked to people like landscapers, you've talked to people with laundromats, you've talked to some of my laundromat competitors even, but you have to find something where there's a demand. I've got a guy down in Texas that I'm friends with. He just started a line striping company. He paints the lines in parking lots. He just secured a customer for over $30,000. He's been at it less than a year. It's an 80% profit margin from what I understand. He found a need and now he's filling it. So my recommendation to everybody out there is find a need. Go and just ask people. When I bought that first rental, it was the most expensive rental that I'd ever heard of in town as a real estate agent. So
How much was it?
It was $1,000 a month for a 5-bedroom house. Never seen a 5-bedroom house, never saw a $1,000 rental here in Circleville. So what I did was I created polls on Facebook. I went out and asked people, would you rent a house for $1,000 a month? Would you rent a 5-bedroom house? The feedback I got from posting that deal on Craigslist was phenomenal. So I was able to determine that there was demand for what I wanted to offer here in town. And we printed money off that place. I still own it today. It's over here on West Mill Street. I only put that $50,000 in it. It's now worth probably $250,000 a month.
Good for you. What would be your advice to those looking to get their first car wash?
Number one, get a good deal. Make sure the numbers are correct, that you've done research, tax returns, sit in the parking lot, look at their water. Number two is be okay with walking away from a deal. I run into a lot of people now. They send me DMs and questions all the time. They say, I found this deal, and then I help them go over the numbers, and it's not a deal at all. And I say, well, you got to walk away from the deal. It's not fixable. Go find something else. And it breaks their heart. They're so excited about the fact that they finally found a car wash for sale, and they need to walk away. If you can't walk away from any deal out there, then the seller has all the power. And as a buyer, you're the one writing the checks every month. You're the one buying it. You've got a very high level of power, and you need to utilize it when you look for it. Don't be afraid to walk away from a deal.
All right, the last two steps was finding the money and then making the money. Let's talk about that. How can entrepreneurs find the money if they don't have a lot of credit score or debts, history, etc.?
Sure. So I'm big on seller financing, which works a lot of the time, but not all the time. In this case, it was heavily seller financed. We had the down payment just sitting in my bank account, was able to deploy it. But in a lot of the deals that I've got into, very similar to this, I've went out and asked for private investor money. So if you can get yourself a deal and you can prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that there's a clear pathway to make a lot of money, it's straightforward and easy to go get investors. The way that I tell people to do it, my approach is go join your local real estate investing clubs. So if I can take them to a deal and I'll wrap them up in an NDA or non-circumvent agreement, I'll show them the deal. And if I can show them a clear path to make 10, 12%, 14% on their money, there's ways that you can do that. Private lending in tax advantaged ways, finding people that have self-directed IRAs, especially self-directed Roth IRAs, so when they pull that money out, it's tax-free. Going and finding those people is worth its weight in gold. I like going to real estate investor clubs first, because if they've got money in a Roth IRA, they want to be able to grow it quicker. And if you can show them that by being a lien holder against real estate, I'm working a deal right now. I called one guy up. I said, hey, I've got 2 properties. I need $300K. And he's more or less said, sure, help me understand your LTV on it, let's do it. These kinds of local investors, it's a phone call away, which is night and different. It's why I got into seller finance, private investment, because I called a bank and I had 20 banks shut me down. I had one bank that said they would give me the loan. We got 1 week before closing and they said, hey, we can't do this anymore.
What?
Yeah, because the bank got bought, and the new bank didn't like the risk profile that I had on buying affordable housing. So with private investors, there's typically a phone call away, some pictures, maybe an appraisal once in a while.
What is your advice to someone who wants to reach your level of success? And of course, you're still growing, but...
I would say generally surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with people that want to be where you are. And the thing that's always surprised me is people will want to help you so long as you provide some value to them. one of the wealthiest, smartest people I know. He does not know how to use social media in any way, shape, or form. We worked out a deal where I made some Facebook personas for him so he could go and research tenants. He has very nice, very high-end property.
Wow.
And I exchange my skills. He teaches me how to write real estate contracts in real creative ways.
Yeah.
There's always some value you can offer other people. And if you say I can't offer people value, you just give them your time. There will always be somebody that needs your time.
You have an amazing network of people you work with, people that have helped you, etc. What's your advice to new entrepreneurs when it comes to building a network of business owners, mentors, etc.?
The big thing is, number one, be passionate about what it is you want to do. Whether it's real estate, a boring business, get ultra passionate about it, because that will lead you to learn a lot about it. Figure out what the numbers and the sense where the money leads to. Then find your local groups, your local real estate investor association, civic groups, and talk to them about what your plans are. Ideas are a dime a dozen, but the real secret, the secret sauce, is implementation.
Right.
And if you can connect with entrepreneurs, people that have money, and they can see that you're serious about implementation, the money will come. It's going to take time. I can't tell people that it's going to take 3 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. But if you're passionate and you have that attention to detail and you can implement it, the people will come to you so long as you spend some effort on networking.
And just to be clear, we're not talking real estate, specifically real estate only, right? We're talking,
I'm talking
real estate groups that will expose you to businesses, opportunities.
Gotcha. The real estate groups seem to be the easiest to find.
Okay.
The business groups that have high rollers and people with serious money, they're a little harder to find. Rotary tends to be a shoe-in. A lot of influential people go to Rotaries, but they don't always. They're not always active investors.
I was going to say, yeah, they're not. I've been to a couple Rotaries, and I felt like I was the youngest in the group, and everybody else was
typically
playing golf.
Yes.
They're retired.
And those can lead to wonderful networking opportunities. I've seen that, but the thing is, that is kind of a different pitch because those people aren't all there to make money. They're there to network. You go to a real estate investor group, they're all there to make money.
Okay.
That's the difference I've seen. But do both.
I haven't touched much on social media, but I'd like to ask about that, and specifically YouTube. Like, what got you into YouTube? How's that helping your businesses across the board, and how much revenue are you generating?
Sure. So I got into YouTube as an extension of a blog that I built, the Investment Joy brand. I started in 2013 when I bought my first investment property, and after I bought my first investment property, I knew I'd be successful because it took me so long to get money for the first investment, and then it got so easy to get money after it. So I figured, let's document the journey and my process of becoming rich or being successful. So in 2017, I started the YouTube channel. Failed at it to an extent because I wasn't really paying attention to what the algorithm and everything wanted. So when I bought this laundromat, I came to the realization, what's it going to take to make the videos right? So as I got a little better, every video got more views. I was happy with the growth. Went viral October 2019 and had a video that had 2.7 million views in 2 weeks.
Wow. What was it about?
Absolutely incredible. It was this laundromat. It was it was my first coin collection when I brought in $143. I was able to fill a Pilot truck stop cup full of quarters. And that was it. I'm now at a point where I've got almost 6 million subscribers between all my channels. My revenue's heavily YouTube, but I track globally. YouTube's by far the most profitable social media I do. We brought in around $750,000 in total revenue. That includes
for the year, or just in
general for YouTube.
For total, okay.
And I would say most of that money comes from this location.
Wow.
The car wash has been good. The rentals has been good. A lot of people care about this specific laundromat.
What is that about it? This laundromat and laundromat in general that's just interesting to viewers?
I think a lot of people want to know how much these cash-based businesses are. So as I talk about this location, I fan the money out and show them exactly to the penny how much money I made. And it's kind of a mystery, and as time goes on, I'm revealing the mystery. So that's why most of my social media traffic is on this one as opposed to everything else.
So you said 6 million subscribers across the platforms. Give them to us. So YouTube is about 1.8.
YouTube's 1.8. I have 3.6, almost 3.7 on TikTok.
Oh, wow.
I got over 400,000 on Facebook, 200,000 on Instagram, and I've got another 50,000-ish on all the other platforms. So if we add them up right, that should be right around 6 million.
What do you say to entrepreneurs who have a successful business, but they're not leveraging the marketing aspect of content creation, right?
So for me, it's nice to bring in that 750 in revenue, but the relationships and the networking opportunities that I've got through this business of making YouTube videos has been worth more than that. Take this laundromat, for instance. I do social media posts. I'll bring in a community organization. We'll have a free laundry day. I'll have a day where everybody gets free soap. We'll do these little promotions. Has nothing to do with the Investment Joy brand, but it sits on Facebook as its own organic social media campaign, and that brings in money. I don't have to connect that to my news organization. It just sits on its own, and I do very, very well off those social media promotions. Learning how to make a YouTube channel certainly helps, but we're typically talking Facebook, not YouTube.
Yeah. I've been wanting to ask you about your unconventional marketing strategy, and that is buying up the local newspaper. How did that deal come about? How did it happen? And what kind of benefits does it come with to you as an entrepreneur?
Sure. I found out by the wayside that the local newspaper was sold. There were two competing news agencies here in my county, and they said that it was going to be for sale for nothing. And I asked, what do you mean by nothing? And they said about $10,000. So me trying to get a deal, I offered them $6,000 and they took it. So I knew at that point, with all these businesses that I had, I need to find a cheaper way to advertise. So
very clever.
A lot of these businesses are just marketing based businesses. You spend money, you get a return on it, and I wanted to get a shoe in for getting cheap advertising, which was to buy the local newspaper. Now we've taken that, we took it from a physical print to online subscription. We went from about 500 people to now we have 125,000 online subscribers.
Whoa, good
so
for
whenever
you.
I do a story about my car wash, it does very well. And we do a lot of charity-based work. So then you're not just advertising your business, you're also building a community function in, and then you get extreme viral sharing. I don't see any money out of it personally, but I get free advertising. Yeah. And if I was to go to a comparable news agency, they would be charging me $1,000, $1,500 a month. And I get it for free.
Yeah, so it's not one of those newspapers where you still have the old printing press. Everything's online.
No more print. We've done the print thing. No one cared about it.
It's kind of a glorified marketing email list, essentially.
Yes.
You know?
That's all it is.
All right, so you have businesses in multiple industries, and from one perspective, it seems like you're trying to be the jack of all trades entrepreneur, right? You got storage units and laundromats. How do you do well in all of those, right? Because you're not necessarily an expert in car washes or weren't.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
Sure. So I would say, number one, I got pretty good at real estate. The one thing that I have found to be true in any business you get into, or in all the business that I've got into, is you've got to get around experts. When I got into the laundromat industry, I knew nothing about washers, never knew anything about dryers. I'd been in a laundromat once in my life prior to showing up and buying a laundromat.
Wow.
So I started getting in Facebook groups with experts, and I started asking them questions. How do you deal with XYZ? I started talking to owners. I started asking for advice. When I bought my trailer park, I became the owner of a sewage treatment plant. It was absolutely wild, and I found out that there are sewage treatment plant owner groups online. So I got into those and I started asking, how do I maintain it? What do I do? How do I be compliant with the EPA? Any industry has great experts in it, and you need to get in the mind space of consulting them, talking with them, and being willing to walk away from a deal or an entire industry if you start running into problems that you can't address at your current point in life.
And Facebook groups have been the place to go to?
Facebook groups have been better for me, but then there's also a lot of message forums that still are out there. Reddit has a lot of subreddits for industry-specific items, but generally speaking, unfortunately, I have found Reddit to be the worst.
How does marketing differ from business to business? So we got the car wash, we got the storage units, we got the laundromats. Can you give us any specific differences and best ROI as far as platforms?
Sure. So broadly, it's all about getting the most money out of your customer, but you have to figure out what is going to differentiate yourself and position you best in the market. My storage facility, for instance, we've got storage facilities north of me, south of me. So what I've done is I've decided that I'm going to have a marketing mix similar to what they're doing, and I'm going to underprice myself by about 5%. I run into a lot of people that go and they buy themselves a self-storage facility, and they come to this odd determination they can increase their rents 20 or 30%. 20 or 30% over what the old owner was doing, but they don't compare their market to their competitors. If you overprice yourself, your people are just going to leave. Laundromats, they're very geographically driven. If you don't have competitors within a mile or 2 mile, you're going to get a lot of those people. You need to make your laundromat a place where they actually want to go.
You've negotiated more deals than I probably count on both hands. So what are some negotiation tactics that we can learn from?
On the front end, I would say know your value. That will lead to you being willing to walk away from a deal.
It's a big one.
Not every deal you think on the front end is an actual deal. You have to prove at the end of the day a way for you to make money. I use that as a negotiation tactic now with all of the deals I go into. It gives me a lot more insight and a lot more power to negotiate on the deal. And you have to make money at the end of the day. You can't be working for free.
Right.
Otherwise, go get yourself a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
There's no sense in it.
So it's almost like you have to work hard to convince yourself to walk away from the deal as opposed to convincing yourself to try to stay in the deal, right?
Yes, yeah. And that's how my brain's wired. I run into some people that are way too analytical, and at some point they just need to jump in. If they can't feel that, find yourself a business partner that is the guy that's willing to jump in quicker and
good
partner
point.
together. My